This series of videos is being independently published by me, a manager and former receptionist at Hostel Cat in Las Vegas. We're just sharing how we use Cloudbeds since it would have been nice to have these videos when we switched over softwares. So let's hop right in. This is a screenshot of the Cloudbeds calendar. It is easily one of the most used areas of Cloudbeds. So you get to the calendar by clicking this button at the top. And of course, there's lots of blur right now because the guest info is on our reservations, which we can't share on YouTube. As you can see, the search bar right here and the cash drawer right here, as well as the main menu, are still at the top of Cloudbeds in the calendar. The calendar is your visual representation of your past, current, and future bookings. It displays the last name and the first name of your guest, or whatever actually fits on the size of the reservation, such as a small reservation like this one. For us, most bookings are made in English, like an English name, but sometimes Cloudbeds will make reservations names in Asian characters or characters just from other languages. I'm assuming that most PMS systems have a feature of their software that looks similar to this. They just have slightly different functions, maybe different color coding, and different ways of navigating throughout your calendar view. One thing to note is that the calendar does not include no shows and cancellations anywhere on this view. When a reservation is marked as canceled or as a no-show manually by your front desk staff, or say by the system if they canceled on the OTA or something, it disappears from the calendar entirely and stops blocking out space so someone else can book there. But the canceled and no-showed reservations will still be available if you search their name, such as in the search bar here, or by looking at the no-show or cancellation report, which is at Reports, Daily Activities, no-show report, or cancellations report. When you click the calendar button, it always auto-loads to 2 days before today, and today is highlighted in blue. Like today is Monday when this screenshot was taken, and I also see Sunday and Saturday. The calendar is organized by room type, not room number. So our particular calendar starts with the female-only dorms, the 10-bed, the 6-bed private rooms, and then we have a bunch of other types that I can explain at a later time. Our old system, which did have sequential rooms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it was very easy to accidentally mistake a 10-bed dorm for a 6-bed dorm visually, and we used to mistakenly move people from one to the other all the time. And because they're all separated in Cloudbeds calendar, that is not possible. Of course, it is possible to accidentally drag a reservation into a different room type, but it will never let you do that without warning you and giving you the option to cancel the change ahead of time. You can expand or collapse room types by clicking here, this triangle, or you could expand all of them by clicking all room types. At our hostel, each room type, for example, this room type, the female-only dorm, is organized top to bottom in the order we'd prefer the front desk staff and Cloudbeds to fill them, not necessarily in chronological order. So in this case, we want to fill up room 5 as a female only before we start filling up room 6 as a female only, and room 7 is the last female only dorm we would want to fill. When Cloudbeds auto-populates reservations into the calendar, a new long bookings will auto-populate into the earliest possible empty bed and not move other reservations out of the way. So if someone wanted to book, for example, Wednesday to Wednesday, a full week, their booking will not appear up top. It won't appear here. It will appear here in the first available empty bed of that room type. So we leave it up to our front desk staff to move the reservations themselves. We don't necessarily want a long booking in room 6. We'd probably prefer it in room 5 because room 5 is always occupied. The only exception to this rule that I'm aware of is if you have the shared inventory feature like we do, it will choose the female only room that isn't sold as a private ever first. For example, of all of our female only dorms, room 5 never sells as a private, whereas room 6 and 7 sometimes do. That's what this little link logo means. So room 5 is only ever a shared room, whereas rooms 6 and 7 are sometimes shared dorms, sometimes private rooms. And so if I, for example, move room 5 to the bottom of the female only list, it would still be the first room to be filled because it's not a shared room. And that's how Cloudbeds auto assigns reservation. It picks the non-shared room first if there's space, and then it chooses the shared rooms top to bottom. I'm not personally a fan of this and would prefer if it would just choose to fill the first room first, second room second, that sort of thing. And I've pointed out why to Cloudbeds, but there are some pretty easy options for working around this if they never change it. I personally just like managers to have the maximum amount of control in terms of which rooms fill first. Also, FYI, we chose to have new bookings auto-assigned to beds by Cloudbeds, as we like to see all of our bookings in the calendar so we can visualize them better. And then we manually move them so people fit better together in one room. But you can actually choose to not have your reservations auto-assigned into the calendar. Speaking of bookings that are not assigned to a bed, if this upper part here is blue, it means that there's a reservation that is not currently assigned to a specific room. Now, why would someone be unassigned in our calendar? Well, our 3 main reasons, at least for our hostel, are: number 1, if you're Tetrising, as in trying to move reservations around, in a 100% full room type. For example, this night, the female-only room is 100% full, but I want to move this one up to room 5 because we prefer longer bookings to be in the first available room. I, of course, can't just drag it and move it. I have to unassign another reservation, move the long one up, and then reassign the one-nighter into its space. Cloudbeds also unassigns reservation when you add nights in a shared inventory room if dorm bookings are in the way. So for example, on the 26th, of course, the female onlys are full. On the 25th, there's a private room in room 7, the last of the types. If I wanted to add nights for this person, I would just quick edit, add the nights, presumably in room 7, and save. And just wait a little bit for it to update. And look at, so now I got the 2 nights in the same. Oh, it changed. So to clarify, what happened here was our settings actually allow overbookings at our hostel for special reasons, but generally the managers only are supposed to be able to overbook. But I just used a receptionist login and accidentally overbooked our female-only rooms by extending a private. A second example, on the same night, I just removed all the room 7 ones to see what happens. So let's say it's the morning of the 26th. We're expecting a bunch of people to check into room 6. But last night, there was a private in room 6. So that person wants to add nights. I would just quick edit, add that night. I believe they will stay in room 6. And Cloudbeds will either unassign the female onlys or they move them to 7. Nope, it doesn't either. In that case, I would train your staff to look and see if the private room next to it is red before you add nights, and make space ahead of time by unassigning, or you don't even have to unassign in this case, just dragging them into another room. The third way we use unassignments is when the room type is full, but you allow for overbookings. So we do this specifically with privates booked through Hostel World. I'll do a Hostel World training video at another time, explain why we do that. But we only have one bookable Hostel World private room, but we allow 2 bookings to take up this space. So if someone is already in-house, like for example, today there are dorm bookers in room 16, the Hostel World private. I can't put the private directly in 16, but I was still able to make one. So if I click up here, oh look at in the Hostel World 1 person private, there's a practice booking that I just made. In this case, of course, it comes in unassigned because it can't go straight into room 16 since it's not empty. So I just changed their room type to a regular private, which is identical. So when I click here and it asks me where I want to assign, it tells me I can't put it in the room type I want. I click OK. And I just pick a space in a regular private room. And override any price changes, of course. So generally, we always tell our receptionists to make sure that there are no unassigned reservations like this one. So we can see all reservations visually at all times. So for your information, unassigned reservations still block space from other people booking. For example, this is a 100% full night on November 26th. Let's say I unassign a couple of these in the female only room and see if I can actually book a reservation into that type on the same date. Nope, it's not available at all. Doesn't even show as an option. So again, unassign, that is not the same as canceling. I'll show you how canceling works. Let's try this one. 6 person, canceled. Continue, confirm, cancel. Create a new reservation and see if the 26th is available. Oh, yep. Now I can make some reservations on the 26th because canceling actually does make the reservation stop blocking space, but unassigning does not. Okay, so going back to the calendar, this is what our naming conventions look like for each dorm room. We start with bed A, bed B, bed C. The first bed in the room has a long and easy name for our receptionist to recognize so that they see it's a different room than the others. There is no way to color code the background or anything to delineate if you're moving someone, for example, from room 5 to room 6, especially on the border here. So that's why we have that long line of text. So visually, it's not perfect, but anytime we've had receptionists make errors with giving people keys to a different room than what they're actually in Cloudbeds has almost universally been due to the guests not being green in the calendar. Meaning green means they're marked as in-house, even though they are in the room. So if someone's blue and they are in the room, it's easier for the front desk or even a manager who's in Cloudbeds to accidentally and mindlessly move them somewhere else because they think they haven't arrived yet. This is usually a front desk staff error, but for a 3-week period, it actually was a Cloudbeds calendar bug for us that we were having, where we are marking people as in-house, but they didn't turn green for several minutes to several hours later. So that is the real problem with delineating one room from another, not really the fact that these aren't color-coded. The top of the calendar has the month, the year, and the date and day of the week, as well as the percentage occupancy for that day. It also contains the price, not including any fees or deposits, like the base price for the room type on that day. Prices are actually editable here in the calendar, but managers decide what types of logins can edit prices. This is my reception login, so when I double click, it does not let me change the prices. Only our high-level managers can do that at our hostel, and honestly, there's better ways to change the prices than in the calendar. Of course, if you do change the prices here or anywhere else, it doesn't change the price of existing bookings, just new bookings that are made from that point on. The calendar also shows you how many more beds or rooms are available here, right here. So there's 6 female-only dorms left, 17 10-bed left, 95 6-bed, 11 private rooms, 1 Hostel World private. Although managers decide if they actually want to allow, for example, 11 privates to be sold on this day or not. We can literally block receptionists from booking it or adding nights into that date. Managers can also intentionally allow for overbookings if they're cool with it. So for example, I wouldn't be surprised if managers actually allowed 2 Hostel World bookings on this day, as long as they're prepared and know how to handle it. In this case, we just move them to the regular private rooms. Of course, I'll talk about that in detail in a future video on the availability and pricing section of Cloudbeds. The bottom section of the calendar has a legend and learn to use section to help train new staff or just reassure existing staff. But let me just show you some of the more important color codings now. So gray means they were in-house and they have since checked out. Green means they are currently in-house and in the room. And blue means they will be arriving at some later date or later today. The plus sign here means that the other person, there may be another person in the group that is just assigned to a different bed. Or sometimes it's a split reservation, meaning they had to move rooms or move room types at some point. If it is a split, it's not that they have a friend who's also going to show up and expect to be in the same room. Usually they'll have this black line here showing it was split recently, or if you click on their reservation, it will give you the option to show where the split was. Whereas if they had a friend coming, it would not have the show split option. And by the way, there is no way to link 2 separate reservations together in Cloudbeds as of now. But if 2 friends booked separately and emailed you ahead of time that they want to be put in the same dorm room, you can go in and edit the name of one of them like this. So this person's name is Practice Friend 2. I would just change it so that their last name, edit details, matches Friend 1. Friend 1. Save it and make a note. And now I see friend 1 practice, and then I see plus friend 1, friend 2, comma practice. So it looks like, oh, I would have to change this person's guest details as well to have a plus by their last name. And now when I go to the calendar, it says plus friend, plus friend. So you would want to put them instinctively in the same room. So that's my personal workaround for reservations not being able to be linked in Cloudbeds. There are also red dots, meaning the person still owes money. So friend 1 still owes $61.84. And the yellow dot means there's a note on the reservation, which you can access here. And here's the note I just wrote. I changed their last name so they stay in the same room as friend 1. These pink blocks appear only in rooms with the linked symbols and only if you pay for shared inventory. In this example, there's someone in room 6 on the night of the 25th in a private room instead of the female-only room. So this particular room is not bookable as a female-only room on Monday. And the only other important thing that we regularly use are blocks. So there are 2 main types of blocks. There's the gray and the red. Red is supposed to be an out of service, but we just kind of use them randomly. So you create a block by selecting the dates you want to block. So you could do, for gray, you do block dates. And you can change the dates here if you want, or you could add a couple beds as well. And you choose whether to just block room 6 as a dorm, or if you want to also blink any linked accommodations, meaning the private room as well. And you write a reason. You could cause overbookings with blocks. Interesting. And then the other similar type is out of service blocks, which we sometimes like because they're red. Actually, let's do it in room 6. Out of service. Let's just do not in the private room. So let's say we're doing maintenance and save. Continue assigning. Okay. And of course, you can delete them by clearing dates, or you can add nights. And if you want to delete not only this gray block, but all the ones linked to it, meaning this one, and the room, and the one in the private room, you would cancel group dates. So it deletes all of them. And let me show you how to navigate. First, I'll collapse this. Okay, so there is a jump to button. So you can jump to today. You can go to November 26th, was where we were before. And you can drag left or right, or even press the left or right arrows on your keyboard, which don't really work for me in this case. Oh, they do, but they're slow, so I never do use them. If you want to make a new reservation, there's a button here, the green button, new reservation. Or you can actually go into the room type you want to book, find an empty space on the calendar, and keep in mind you can only make usually a 1-person walk-in reservation when you make a reservation like this. Create new reservation here. Yep, it defaults to 1 adult for the amount of nights you chose as a walk-in source. And that's assuming the manager did not block availability on that date. So let me find a day when those are blocked. Okay, so a good example would be New Year's Eve. We're very busy and always block off privates. I might actually be able to book it. No. Okay, so let's try again. Let's try a multi-night private over New Year's. It selects walk-in automatically, but it does not show the privates as being bookable. You have to choose the room type. And that's because they're all blocked on that date. Although it's not showing it like I thought it would. Let's see. There we go. When we expanded it out, we see that the private rooms are blocked on those dates. It's available this one date, and then it's blocked for like the rest of the week. So even though there was space on the calendar to book over New Year's, the receptionist login does not allow you to make a booking on that day. So as you've already seen, a reservation can be moved to another room easily by dragging up or down. You can drag it even right if you wanted to. And it will always warn you that you changed the dates. It won't say exactly what was changed, but you'll see it here, that the start date's different. And you can always cancel. And as I mentioned before, you can drag it into a different room type, whether by accident or on purpose. But it will always warn you that you've done something unexpected, and it will ask you if you want a price change or not. So confirm upcharge. Maybe they wanted a private. And you open an individual reservation simply by clicking it and clicking reservation details. And the final feature I wanted to mention in the calendar is here at the bottom, is they have a suggest a feature section.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button if you want to keep receiving more videos and maybe become a Cloudbeds expert one day. And don't forget to press the like button if you're finding these videos useful. Thank you.